if you're a good private chef, you're going to have daily gratification because your food goes to that table by your hand, and no one can deliver your food better than you.
This episode is brought to you by FultonFishMarket.com, the most trusted name in seafood. FultonFishMarket.com is the e-commerce provider for New York's iconic Fulton Fish Market, the largest seafood market in the Western Hemisphere, trusted by top chefs for over 200 years. Fulton Fish Market provides a range of world-class seafood options. FultonFishMarket.com can help you serve a wide range of customers, whether you serve high-profile individuals or just strive for culinary excellence. They deliver directly to your doorstep in all 48 contiguous states, providing a comprehensive selection of the finest seafood, from wild fish to caviar and shellfish. When it comes to seafood, FultonFishMarket.com is our go-to destination and the name we trust. Let's celebrate those who support us and dive into this episode of the Private Chef podcast with a taste of excellence and freshness. Visit www.fultonfishmarket.com to get 15% off your first order. Use code PrivateChef at checkout. Welcome to the Private Chef podcast, serving the 1%. I'm your host, Hannes Henche. And on our show, we speak to the best chefs, how they honed in on their skills to excel in the industry, and what it takes to work as a private chef for some of the most exclusive clients in the world. Welcome back to the Private Chef podcast. I'm your host, Hannes Henche, and I'm absolutely delighted to introduce our special guest today, Chef Jacqueline Bruno. With nearly 3 decades of experience as a private chef, Chef Jacqueline has also served as a tasting room chef and a project coordinator at the California Caviar Company. She's also led her father-in-law's cafe, which she will share with us, which is a passionate story of how she started in the culinary industry. So welcome to the show, Jacqueline.
Thank you for having me. It is my pleasure. Such a wonderful platform to share stories about private chefs.
So tell me more about where your passion for food started. I know you already shared with me in person, that initially you weren't too fond of it and you had a great career. But how did you end up in the kitchen and how did you end up doing it for 3 decades already?
So it all started with this man in this picture. If you can see, I have a picture of my father-in-law hanging on the wall of our home office. His name was Francesco Paolo Bruno. I came to the food industry because of him. He was one of the pioneers to bring coffee espresso to America from Italy. My husband is first generation Italian, and we had a restaurant here in North Beach of San Francisco neighborhood, Italian community, right next to the Italian American Club. We were very active in the Italian community here, and my father-in-law was determined to satisfy the niche of serving Italians authentic breakfast and lunch. And he had a coffee roastery, which his motto was where other coffee shops shop, because they used to buy espresso machines and coffee from his small roastery here in San Francisco in the North Beach area. Eventually, he grew the company and he bought his own building on the South of Market area. And we had hundreds of clients from the United States that we used to ship coffee to. So prior to his leaving us, he left us a cafe and this roastery. At that time, I was working for the cable industry in a all-arounder position at my company. I worked in marketing and local origination production and affiliate coordinator with cable in the classroom being installed all over the Bay Area. So I had a little bit of experience in different areas of the cable industry. I came to realize that I was now going to be the owner of a small little cafe in North Beach, which I had zero experience of. Literally, before he passed on, he gave me like a 48-hour course. I'm not exaggerating, on how to do the business. This is how you deposit. This is how you run the machine. And it was like, what? You are going to change my life? I was so discontented at the idea that I would now have to cook because, to be honest, when I got married, before I got married, I told my mother I wasn't going to cook. I was never going to cook. I was going to hire a chef.
How did that turn out?
My mother said, if you don't learn how to cook, your maid is going to take your husband. That's what she said. And I said, no way is some stinking maid going to take my husband. So guess what I got for my wedding presents? A microwave and how to cook using your microwave. Oh gosh. And to top that all off, my husband was vegetarian. I didn't eat vegetarian food. I never had a vegetarian meal in my
I've ne-
life.
I've never heard of an Italian husband coming to or being in the United States being vegetarian. You know, it's usually
Can
meatball
you
culture.
imagine my dismay? Can you imagine me? And I'm like, what in the heck? I'm going to cook for this man. I'll tell you, when we went away on our honeymoon, we went to Club Med in Cancun and we came back and we went for our very first grocery shopping. And I had bought a little pack of deli ham, which at that time I used to eat pork. Um, and I was putting that piece of ham or that pack of ham in the refrigerator. And my husband said, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I said, I'm putting this ham in the refrigerator. It's perishable. And he goes, but that's my refrigerator. And I said, what do you think? Your refrigerator cares if it's vegetarian or not?
Well, the husband
So,
cares.
so you see, every home has its rules on how they manage their kitchen and their foods. So life somehow was preparing me for this culinary journey because I would come to know that even refrigerators have rules.
If I learned one thing in private service is that some principals are extremely particular about their refrigerators and how they're supposed to look and what's supposed to be where in them. And as like sometimes I was stunned as like how particular principals are. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, okay. If you have nothing else to care for, we'll go there.
I mean, I've been to places where they practically alphabetize the sauces on the door shelf. I
E-
mean, that's how particular some
Everybody
of these
has their
clients can
thing,
be.
you know.
I know. But then I've been on the opposite end where I'm thinking, how long has this been in here?
And it's almost crawling your way when you open the fridge.
I had a client say, oh, just cut that part off. I'm like, no. Have you heard of spores and other foodborne illnesses? That's where safety handling comes in. So, so that's how I started. I started as a chef that I needed to earn the respect of my crew. I didn't have the respect. I resented the fact of being in the food industry, and I needed to embrace that and say to myself, Jackie, you are living the American dream. Just grab it and go. Do the best of it. And I had to learn the respect of my employees because they didn't respect me. They would talk in Spanish, and I didn't really know Spanish back then, but I knew they were talking bad about me. And so that was the other thing, the communication. I had to learn how to speak Spanish because that's the crew that I had and that's the hand that I was dealt. So I started learning Spanish. Of course, they'd still make fun of me. I would be constantly mocked. And I was in a position where I had to work really hard to earn their respect. In this culinary world, trust and respect are really essential. As a person, you go into a house and you have to be treated with respect because you're coming to do one of the most intimate things for people. Feeding people is such an intimate thing. Besides living with them, you're coming in there and you're actually giving them what's going to either keep them healthy or just satiate them for the moment.
Yeah.
And that's what a private chef does. It goes to places where that person goes to, chef goes to places where, like we could say, where no one else wants to go. But we go to these places and we are left with the task of feeding people, not only satiating food, but healthy food, because they want to, number one, live quality lives. Number two, they want to fit in their designer clothes. Let's just face it. You know, Gucci isn't cheap. So, anyways, fast forward, the restaurant went great. I learned a lot. I got mentors. That was the one thing that I made sure to do because I was not about to spend $70,000, $80,000 on culinary school to learn how to do what I could just watch my chef do. Because I had no intentions of growing this thing. I was just going to stick around and see how long I could push this. So I wasn't going to culinary school. So I decided to get a mentor. My mentor was Chef Gianni. He was kitty corner from me, and he was Italian, my genre, and he was willing to help me. We would trade ice for coffee. We didn't have a big ice machine. He didn't have coffee. So we would trade. And so when I would go there, I would see the and smell the osabuco. Oh, it was so good. I said, "Oh, Johnny, you have to teach me how to make this delicious." And he would say, "What are you going to teach me?" And I would say,
Mm.
I'll make you some frittata. I'll do this for you. I'll do that for you. And then he would make these most delicious pumpkin raviolis with sage and pine nuts. Oh, never had it like that before. And eventually we had a really mutual respect, and he would teach me, he would mentor me. So I'm saying that because when I became a private chef in 2005, it is 4 or 5, um, I needed mentors because the first family that I worked for, they happened to be from India, and they were not going to eat pasta every day. I
Mm.
guarantee you. They were the Gucci wearing people, and pasta doesn't help those kind of people. So I had to learn to diversify my skills. And what does that require? That requires a lot of studying, visiting those places that have those flavors, learning new techniques, traveling to those countries to do the final, because that's what I call it. I'm going to do a final. For example, I learned how to make Indian food, and then I went to India, and then I tasted it there, and I'm like, am I close, or is this an A, B, C, or D situation? I will go home and work at it some more, and then go back, and then pass. I needed an A. So that's what I do. I travel around the world. I taste things. I experience ingredients. I learn about them. Why is it important to combine this with that and not this with that? And see not only the ingredients and the menus at the restaurants. What do the poor people eat? What do the rich people eat? What do the medium people eat? Because I'm going to come across that type of person that I need to feed. And when you travel around the world like me, I've been to almost 40 countries, you understand that not just food is important, but the culture of food and the culture in the food or the culture out of the food. Where does religion play a part? All these things, because as a private chef, you're not going to go to the same house every single time where you have to wash the meat a certain way, or you have to not combine, never use garlic, or never use onion, like for a Jain person,
Jane, yeah.
or for your Islamic person, you're going to wash the meat thoroughly, or, for every single home has its own culture. And to travel the world and experience that, I mean, I slept on a hard bed in India just to go to this wedding and see what they eat at this wedding. And I went to another wedding where there was photographers, and the paparazzi was there because this person getting married was, some very important person and had high society connections, and they're going to eat lavishly, and the most delectable foods from the most prominent chefs of the country were there, and they had entertainers and were mind-blowing. This is like a $50 million wedding. Or you're going to go to this tiny little remote town where they could barely afford one calf for the entire village, and you're going to experience all these levels, and food tastes great at all these levels if it's prepared well, and you get to learn these things and bring these things back to experiences on your clients' tables, and tell the stories that you had when you first tasted them. Like the first time I had a rumali roti in Mumbai, as you know, I think you've been to Mumbai and we've talked about this.
Yeah.
The first rumali roti, oh man. I was not about to eat street food in India. Let's just be honest. Some countries you don't want to do it. You're just scared, right? And I said, but when I go to Mumbai, I'm definitely going to eat rumali roti. And my thing about going there was I wanted to follow a Dawawala. You know those people who deliver the tins,
Mm.
who are super intellects on how to deliver food. Um, I was determined to have a street food in Mumbai, and I did it. Thank God I didn't get sick. It was one of the most charming experiences that I had in India. And as a private chef, I get to do that. I get to bring those experiences to the table. This is what I had in Mexico City, or the bugs in the guacamole, or anything, this the escargot in the streets of France, Paris, all those fun experiences, or the Christmas wine in Christmas Town in Berlin. Where are you
You,
gonna find that in San
you, you,
Francisco?
you know,
Not so easy.
it's Christmas market season right now. It's popping up everywhere.
Yes.
I'm actually going to a Christmas market tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm jealous. I love the Christmas market. They're so great.
So,
The
which
the
of those
connection.
experiences do I mean? I haven't met a lot of people who really wanted to eat escargot at their home, but I think it's so inspiring that you go to that extent. You know, you travel to countries just to eat individual meals. I know you shared another story with me where you were like, I have to go there because I want to eat this, and you made a massive effort to get there and eat it. And the clients must feel that in the food that you serve them. There's no two ways about it. If you have that level of enthusiasm and passion for food, like it just shows on the table.
It does. It's combining the fact that I love antiques and unique tableware. I like to put my experiences, for example, I'll give you experience. Last weekend, there was this young lady who she turned 28 and she wanted to go back to her beach town where she grew up and relive some of those memories. And she invited 12 of her best friends. She rented an Airbnb. She hired me as her chef. And I want to tell you why LinkedIn is very important because you find quality people on LinkedIn, and that's how she found me on
I
LinkedIn
agree.
via link. And she asked me, and immediately she sent me a deposit. I'm like, wow, she's serious. She hardly even knows me, but she had reviewed my LinkedIn, and it's not anything special. It's just the obvious. As a
Yeah,
matter of fact, I need to update my LinkedIn. But so she invited me over, and so I created an experience where you see all these beautiful dishes and things that people are putting on TikTok, on Instagram, using social media, which I am incredibly grateful, and I'll speak about it in a minute more, how important that is for us chefs. But I just basically put a nice charcuterie board with dips and jams, but not your common things, some unique stuff, like from Spain or from Morocco, just a variety of things that they can make their own flavor combinations and using textures and color and flavors all naturally. And then I created a situation where we did a pop-up tasting bump bar in the living room. I set up a bump bar and I explained to them about the difference between a purist and an adventurous when it comes to eating caviar. I shared with them, 7 different caviars and they enjoyed it. Then we sat down for dinner, and of course the girls love seafood, so I made them a seafood paella and a rack of lamb for those who are carnivorous, and some side vegetables. And then at the end, we had all these crystal vases and bowls and things, candy dishes, assorted sweets like macaroons and truffles, and a birthday cake. And then that was an experience, and everyone was dancing and cheering at the end, and it was so much fun. So every type of dining experience that the chef has an opportunity to perform their duty, not just as a chef cooking in the kitchen, getting hot and sweaty, but to entertain and share their story. It's fun. It's fun to share, Yeah, the first time I ate caviar or the first time I made caviar. I'm just so privileged to be able to work with Deborah Keene, who's we consider her the caviar queen, such a knowledgeable, experienced woman who has been around the world studying. She's an expert on caviar and has her own farm here in California, and does great things for the world of culinary, including working with top chefs like Jack Pepin with pressed caviar, introducing the fact that caviar was kind of discarded in the beginning of time as just like a scrap, and how the poor fishermen who used to press it on a in a cheesecloth with a brick and then come back a few days later and it would be dried from its oils and then eat it in a piece of French bread, and that was their lunch. And till the point of where it became so glamorous, it was for the rich and the famous to eat caviar. But what she's done is she's made it affordable. Her model is an everyday indulgence. So I'm lucky as a chef, and any chef that can take that opportunity to take an ingredient like saffron, like truffle, like caviar, or just something simple like corn on the cob, and glamorize it and make it part of a entertaining culinary experience is kind of a smart move, because that's why you want to get paid. You want to
Yeah.
get paid what your worth is, not just in your food
Y-
handling, but
you
your
know that
story.
many of the caviar vendors, they love caviar because it has amazing profit margins, and they want it to be glamorous, and they like to serve it in very chic environments, because for them as vendors it's an incredible product for, and the in terms of the profit margins. So it's, they want it to be that celebrated, not everyday thing. And at the same time they appreciate the common billionaire who wants to have it as a daily thing, pay the full profit margin. So it's, I think that the overall the caviar industry is not really looking for making it an everyday product, at least in terms of the price point. I think they're quite happy
But
with
it
the
is,
profit margins.
but that's the thing of it all, is that it can be. I mean,
Yeah.
not every day. I mean, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Let's just face it. But it
I
is
mean,
affordable.
too much of anything is too much. It's like, everything in balance. I was just watching a documentary said about Finnish people, and they have a saying that you basically, the good life is where you have enough or not too much, in the sense that you just have enough to be able to be fulfilled. And everything beyond has its own set of issues. And I think the same is true for health. Like, in the United States, there is more people, and I actually just run the numbers on that out of my own curiosity yesterday. There's more people by a factor of 10 suffering obesity than fa- malnourishment. So the US is actually facing too much caloric intake. There is too much food available to people, and they cannot eat in a healthy manner themselves. So obesity is much, much more present than malnourishment.
I believe what's contributing to this obesity problem in America is it's not because of lack of knowledge. It's definitely because people are not satiated. It comes to, I'm sorry to say this, but people in America, a lot of people, not everyone, because we do have a huge segment of people who are undernourished and under fed because they can't afford it. Food is expensive. In California, we are a basket of food for the country, and it's very expensive. Before, like let's say when I first started working as a private chef, I used to go to Whole Foods because my clients insisted on whole food, okay, nothing with pesticides and organic and this and that. You went to Whole Foods, you would spend $50 a bag of food, okay? Now you go to Whole Foods and you spend over $120 for one bag of food. Okay, the price of food is incredible. So what happens? People are forced to eat bad food. What does bad food do? It causes people to gain weight because it's saturated fat, high carb, not enough fresh vegetables. People don't eat herbs. They don't understand that herbs are natural MSGs. You know, that's what I like to say. Put some parsley in it, it'll freshen it up. Why do you go to a restaurant and you eat something and then an hour and a half later you're hungry again? Because the food quality is so bad. and they're not going to go exercise. They don't have time for that. They're busy working to pay for the food, the next time.
But also, so you mentioned that the first time you said that you started working private 2005, right?
Yes.
So, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that inflation is probably a factor of two easy by then. So $50 is 100 and something bucks today. I think that's just the natural outcome of inflation. I do think that the ratio has changed because we've seen the same in the housing market where um, the percentage that used to go to housing from an American salary was significantly less than what's going to housing today. And I think in a similar way, we're seeing more money being taken. And unfortunately, real food is pricey in the United States, like real whole foods, real ingredients. It has two prices. One is time. So what you mentioned, you don't have the time to do it because you're trying to earn the money. And the second one is
Mm-hmm.
it's pricey in terms of money. So the cost of eating well is high because you either have to have time or you have to have money. If you go out and you want to buy healthy meals, even more expensive. And if you want to have a private chef, it's super expensive.
Mm-hmm. So we actually have a solution for that. I don't know if I told you my recent
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
yeah, we're trying to make food affordable, and because we have families that are um both parents are working, both, even just couples, a lot of them are just couples, both working to advance their careers or just to survive the market here in San Francisco Bay Area as the Silicon Valley, which is incredibly expensive to live. The medium home is close to $1 million in most of the counties here. So both parents, both partners have to work and they don't have time and they're exhausted when they get home and they want to hire someone to come, but they can't afford fancy private chefs every day of their lives. They can't. It's just too much. They would be working to pay someone else to feed them. It doesn't make sense. So I was approached by someone who worked at Meta before, Facebook Market, and they asked me to co-found an app for them, and I helped them. And basically, what it does is just helps people who need a chef to come in and do food prep for them to come in and do that. It could be of any ethnic cuisine. It could be any type of lifestyle. If you're vegan, if you're vegetarian or pescatarian, it could be anything. I have families that have me come in and just do proteins because they'll add the sides, the rice, the pasta, the vegetables, the salad. Now just make the 5 different meat, chicken, fish, whatever they want. And so that's kind of neat because it gives everybody an opportunity to just go home and quickly put something in the oven and just put a salad with it or something like that because they do want to eat healthy and they do want to give their children healthy food and they don't want frozen food. They don't want to just come home and just pop a lasagna in the oven or something like that. And they do want to have taco night, but they don't have time to chop, lettuce and make salsa and all that. And they want that to be ready for them. On Monday night, I'll come in and I'll make everything for Taco Tuesday, whatever. Come in Friday night supper or whatever it is that they want. You go to that, yesterday I had a client who he has special dietary preferences because he has some allergies. He has me come in and prepare food enough for him. And then I have to package it in little, packets and freeze it, label it and everything for him. And in the meantime, his parents who are elderly live with them. They want to eat good food and they're not going to eat packaged food and they don't want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. So they asked me to make, 5 different things for them. And for them, I made shrimp red Thai curry. I made green curry for them with chicken and mushrooms and vegetables. Then I made grilled chicken that she can chop up and put it on salads or quesadillas or whatever. I made a roasted vegetable tray, mixed vegetables, and a sweet potato pie, which was gluten free, so everyone can enjoy it with an almond crust. All that in one day for a flat day rate. And so when you get home, you're tired. You don't even want to eat as a chef. And then you
So
tell your
so
husband
you
you're
ordered a
hungry.
pizza for yourself.
No, my husband made me a little cheese board, crackers. That's what I ate. So it's not fair. Life isn't fair. That's why we're obese, the chefs. They say don't trust a skinny chef. I try to keep it up, you know. I want people to trust me.
I never fit that bill. Sorry, like as always
So you're
somewhat skinny.
untrusting?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But I see. I'm also trying to
Mm,
be the healthy kind of chef who people hire to
yeah.
get the longevity and the health goals. So maybe there's a different goal altogether.
Yeah, we have a different segment of people trusting you.
Yes. They would be a little bit
Yeah.
concerned if if I have a bunch of visceral fat showing. I'm like, what happened to the healthy part of the?
I thought you knew how to keep a diet for
Yeah,
your
yeah.
customers.
I'm like, oh, diet is just for you. I'm eating my cake here right now.
And you know, I actually did that for one of my clients. He was in a contest with a friend of his, and they were committed to losing 60 pounds by New Year's Eve one year, and it was $5,000 on the line. Okay, that
Whoa.
was the bet they had made. So I said, man, we gotta win. I was hoping that there'd be a bonus in it for me. We did win.
But no
I
bonus.
would say it was no bonus. They forgot about
Well, he
that.
felt like he did the work, because he's like,
Yeah,
I'm
he
eating all this
did.
healthy food. I have to do sports.
He lived on the 10th floor, so I'd make him walk up the stairs.
I That's a really good thing, man. Like, imagine it's like a real task to walk up to the 10th floor maybe once or twice a day. That's like,
I would do it. He would do it 3 times a week besides playing racquetball and other things. But the bottom line is, he actually said to his friend, "It's okay, keep the money, join a gym." So, it's okay. All right. We supported his endeavor.
sorry for the interruption, but we gotta share the news with you. Nothing fishy from FultonFishMarket.com. They're delivering world-class seafood from New York City's legendary Fulton Fish Market straight to your door. Their fishmongers have helped countless chefs get what they need when they need it for over 200 years. Trusting FultonFishMarket.com means their experts work tirelessly to make your day run smoothly. Let your cooking skills shine and elevate your dishes with amazing seafood from FultonFishMarket.com. So,
So,
the app you spoke about, is that something where other chefs can sign up to service a certain area? Is this nationwide? Where does it operate right now? Where is it going?
so right now we just started in the Bay Area, and it's actually just a page right now. The app before the pandemic, we stopped the process of the making the app available because we weren't able to service our clients. Which, by the way, a lot of private chefs, they also suffered just like everyone else. But what some private chefs that I know, including myself, were doing were after we ate Rocky Road for 6 months, we got off our beds and we decided to deliver food. And we were able to do that for some of our customers who trusted us. They allow us to deliver food to them. And that kind of saved us from gaining more weight. Um, which I gained 32 pounds during pandemic and still got like 15 more to go. But yeah, so what the page does in the Bay Area, it's called Chef Joy US. It allows people who have culinary experience, who are chefs, even if you're a line cook and you're really good at it, to sign up and it's do part-time work. You could just have one client a week or just like a side gig, enough to make money for your own groceries
They
or
can determine their own pricing.
we do a fixed pricing for them, so they're guaranteed the
But
money
who
because
who decides the price?
the Chef Joy has set up a structured payout, which is normally like maybe roughly $35 to $40 an hour,
Hmm.
which is not. It's better than what they're making in the line cook position, $18 to 22 maybe in a better restaurant. They can double that in just one night for 3 hours, and make 3, 4 dishes. It's not a bad deal, for we have like over 100 chefs that have already signed on, and it's working, doing multiple cuisines, and it's working out, giving people some side money, side hustle. really,
Better
and we're
than
getting
driving
culinary.
Uber as a side hustle.
I tried that. I did that twice. I bought a new vehicle and this was pre-pandemic, like maybe 10 years ago when Uber first started. I said, this sounds like a good deal. I could pay for my car this way. I bought an SUV and I took someone to the airport and they paid me $60. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not going to put strangers in my car for $60 a ride. It's just not working. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also don't think it pays for your car in the way that people think, because the wear and tear on the car is quite massive. And if you actually, like, there's a calculation I did the other day. My brother has a car, an Audi, and he drives tons every week, so thousands of miles. So he has like 400,000 kilometers on his car right now, so which is, I don't know, some 240,000 miles maybe. So then I did the math, what that means, how many cents per mile did the original cost of the car come out to. And I think if most people do that math and they see the actual cost per mile, is that driving, depending on the kind of car, and if you have Uber and you have an SUV, you really need to run the numbers. This is a business. And I think most people that get into Uber don't understand that, and they don't understand the cost of the car and the maintenance, and that comes into that, and they think they're making money per hour, but the bills that are being tapped between additional insurance, liability, additional service you have, the wear on the car, I think it's really not that great of a deal.
No, it's definitely not. It's very short-sighted. They're looking
Yeah.
for immediate cash flow. But at the end of the day, when you start thinking about, especially here in San Francisco, we have a lot of hills. If you've been here, you'll know that. But we literally have to change our brakes once a year. And so you can, it's an annual ritual to keep your car safe. You have to change your brakes once a year, and even if you just drive your car, you know, 15 miles a day, you have to change your brakes because holding that car back on a hill is
But I,
something.
I don't know.
And the
Like,
price of gas. The price of
yeah,
gas in California, oh my God.
it's
I mean,
California people want it that way. Okay, they voted for that.
no,
They want things to
this
be like
little
that.
segment of society wanted it that way, not us average hardworking American here in California. We just, you know, and we have a lot of like laws that are, for our cars have to do this and have to do that. And that's a whole new, that's why Uber driving is just not for me.
Yeah.
It's not a
Anyway,
thing.
I don't encourage chefs to ever do that. I encourage chefs to become private chefs.
Yeah.
See, because I think that if you
Hmm.
have the skill set to work in a Michelin star restaurant
Yeah.
and you have a good attitude, you can't do it without the attitude. If you're a fucked up chef, don't go private, please. If you like,
Right, right.
if you
That's
have a
true.
good attitude and you have a good sales cat, go private, because that's really where the money is in private households
You're
is
absolutely right. You hit the
where you
nail on the
can
head.
make
I've
money.
had like very prominent chefs that I know, like have Michelin stars. They say, "Why are you a private chef?" I mean, I'll be very honest with you. If you're a good private chef, you're gonna have daily gratification because your food goes to that table by your hand,
Yeah.
and no one can deliver your food better than you. Number one, when the person is happy, you know about it. And if they're not, you need to work on it to make them happy. And that's good too. Because sometimes at least chefs that are just going around making Michelin stars, they're just factories. They're just someone else is really doing that for them. They're not doing all that. No offense to Michelin star chefs. I love them, and I'm gonna eat their food all the time. So anytime I get a chance. But they become factories, and when you're a private chef, you have to do everything from peeling your potato, okay? And no one's gonna be there unless you're doing a big gig and you gotta hire an assistant. A private chef's gonna do everything. And guess what? Private chefs get to say no. If you're working for a restaurant, you have to show up. If you're a private chef, you can say, you know what? I'm not working this weekend. I'm not taking any side check. I'm gonna go to Hawaii for the weekend. I'm gonna stay home and sleep. I'm gonna do private chefs can say no. And you can do whatever. You can make your schedule. No one's gonna fire you.
Yeah.
Unless you
Okay.
work in a home, that's a different
Yeah, I
situation.
was just
But if
about to
you're
go there. Like, if you're a
yeah.
full-time private chef, you don't get to do that. You
Yeah, you
they
don't get to that. But
You will
if
go
you're
to Hawaii with
freelancing,
them and cook for them, maybe.
exactly, that's the one, and I've done that too. That's fun. I went on a vacation for 10 days for a family, and it was 8 people in the family, and every day they wanted a theme party. We did that. And a couple of the nights I invited guest chefs to join me. So that was fun too. I invited a Mexican chef to come and join me. We did a huge fiesta and we decorated the table and we used pottery. Another night we did Indian Bollywood night and we had dancing and all that. And the
You had
next
a
night we
bit
did Moroccan
big
food.
projector showing Shah Rukh Khan movies, and like
There's this actual recipe book that's it has recipes of Bollywood. All the favorite stars put their favorite recipes. So I kind of snatched a few recipes from there and made a theme out of it. This was his and this was hers, and the background music and the colorful placemats and the whole deal. That's private chef doing. You create an experience.
yeah.
That's
I
fun.
think I think anyway, whether you work in a household or you do it on an occasion, I think you have to keep creating experiences. You have to kind of most people get bored, and I see that especially if you are in one household all the time. And
Hmm.
actually, the other day I was talking to Chef Bruno. He's from France, so he works for a family 5 days of the week, and on the weekend they have an Indian chef, and the family is Indian too. So because I asked him like, how do you deal with the Indian request? And he's like, no, no, no. The Indian chef does the Indian food only. Full weekend is Indian, and then he gets to cook whatever he wants to cook for the rest of the week. And I was like, that's a really good deal because the family doesn't get bored. This way, there's a really good variety, and they're looking forward
Hmm.
to those days and looking forward for those days. And I think sometimes this can be very challenging, but the palate can get kind of accustomed then the chef if he doesn't explore too much or it can be kind of a boring loop for both parties. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's the chef who can't explore because the family doesn't want to explore, and then sometimes
Hmm.
it's the family who doesn't get to explore because the chef doesn't want to explore, so it can be tricky.
It is tricky. You have to create a balance, and the food has to keep the high standard throughout the whole time because um I've been to homes where they had the Indian auntie come in and cook, and my quality of food and hers didn't match. So that was a problem there. And that created a problem for the family. Whereas I had another family, like the same situation, they're also from India, and they have the cutest little boy who's like 5 years old, just started preschool, and he came home insisting he was not Indian, and so his parents were not making him Indian food. So his mom called me and she said, "Listen, I need to make butter chicken for my son because he needs to learn that he's Indian." And so he insisted that he was Italian actually, and he would only eat pasta, but he loved teriyaki type salmon. Those were his favorites. Okay, he wanted those two things, non-Indian. Okay, so his mom said, "Let's make him become Indian through food." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm with you. Let's do this." So we started making Indian dishes that were palatable for him. And then I would kind of use a fusion of pasta and then I'd turn it into Indian sauce. Like I would make it butter chicken sauce on pasta, started to introduce the different textures and the flavors, and this is cardamom, this is, turmeric. And so next thing you know it, he started embracing the fact that he was Indian. And then we started putting on Hindi music while we ate dinner, and then we would learn a couple of Hindi words. And so that's kind of the cool thing about being a private chef is that, when you live in a family like you're saying, which I did that for a while, you become part of the family and you become part of the culture as well. When I'm cooking Indian food, I only hear Bollywood music because I feel inspired when I hear it. And I feel like I'm one of them. I'm a salamander. When I'm in a Mexican home, I'm going to hear mariachis and banda music because my tacos are going to taste better. You know,
Yeah.
you have to bring that culture. And being in a single family, it's the relationship that you have with that family and the experiences that you're giving them are so relevant, are just so, it's with the kids especially. That's the best part. is that you made the best. Now he's addicted to butter chicken. He wants it once a
Yeah,
week.
now he feels Indian again.
He feels Indian. Yeah. For Indian National Indian Day, he was carrying the Indian flag. He was proud of it, you know. So that's good. I like that.
That's good. Mission
And that's
accomplished.
yeah, and that's
Now he's
why
now he's walking around with the Indian flag. It's like Chai Hind. Like,
oh my, yeah. So that's the lovely part of being a solid full-time chef to a family. You get to see the kids grow and you're part of that because you're giving them healthy food and you're introducing them to ingredients and you know my dad used to say when I was little because we were actually very poor. We grew up very poor. My dad was in ministry and we depended on the offerings of the people and even families used to bring us food because we were so poor. And in my house, my mom used to make bologna sandwiches and say it was steak sandwich. And, and we were like, wow, give me another steak sandwich, you know?
this sounds
But
a little bit. In Eastern Germany, they have a thing where it's like a fake version of a schnitzel, and in Vienna, the original schnitzel is made out of veal cutlet, so it's kind of prime, and then
hmm
you coat it in breadcrumbs, etc. But then Eastern Germany, they do something similar, but they take Jagdwurst, which is it's a kind of Leona style sausage, and which is basically like processed meat, and then they do the same coating, so it's a completely different experience of what they call somewhat the same dish. It just reminded me of your bologna steak sandwich.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could see that happening, in other parts of the world too, where people don't have the option to have quality proteins. They use substitutes and call it something else, you know?
Yeah,
But that's a really interesting thing because when we switch up foods, and especially here in America, I'm not sure if you're aware, but it's happening all over the world, so I'm pretty sure you're up on that, where these plant-based restaurants are taking like for example shrimp and making them in a plant-based version. So the first time I experienced that was some time back, many years back in San Jose at a restaurant called Vegetarian House. Some couple decided to invite me and my husband out to this vegetarian restaurant,
so how do you feel
and they
about
didn't.
that fake
I'm
meat?
not too happy about it,
Yeah, I
to be
think it's full
honest.
crap. Like, I think it's not good for the
Thank
body.
you.
And see, the thing is, I've
hmm
explored this myself, and like when Beyond Meat burgers came out and stuff, initially I was excited from an environmental point of view. I was like, okay, this sounds cool. Like if you can introduce that into the marketplace and people eat this at McDonald's instead of the really shit meat, and we can maybe prevent some suffering in the meat processing plants, that's cool. The thing is, when I eat it, I don't feel good. Like, my digestive system isn't happy. Like, this fake stuff, my body is like, what are we eating? Like, just give me
Yeah.
real food, real ingredients. And the thing,
hmm
even what we think, like for example, a banana has nothing to do with the OG version of a banana in the jungle. Like, so we've already kind of cultivated things from the original shape. So what we think is like real fruit is already so much sweeter. The shape and like the seeds are missing. So even what we think fruits are already so far from the Harlem version of it. So
hmm
I think
They don't
this,
taste like what they're supposed to be tasting like.
yeah, like I think uh going fake plant based is complete shit. Like, okay, maybe it helps you with your you some of your health issues. Like, maybe
hmm
possibility is there, but I mean, beer and French fries is also vegan. This in itself doesn't make you healthy. I think you need to eat real food, mostly
hmm
plants. If you have quality protein, go for it. Don't just
And that's what
yeah.
vegetarians tell me. They tell me, why would I go to a vegetarian house, a vegetarian restaurant, and eat fake shrimp? I might as well eat shrimp. I'm trying to get away from shrimp, and you're now introducing me to shrimp. So, so that's
Yeah,
the
and
thing. And like, I never ate fake crab, you
in
know.
Germany, there's huge meat plants who years ago started experimenting with kind of fake processed meat. So instead of sausages, you have like vegan wieners and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, this is so dumb. Like, why would anybody want that? Like, just eat real veggies.
Right. Like mystery food. Why would you want to eat mystery food?
Yeah, and it's
Doesn't
full
make
of
sense.
additives. And yeah, I don't think it's great for the body, even so people. I mean, it
I
might be
mean,
better.
it's almost like an arranged marriage. You don't know what you're going to get until you open the
Hey,
box.
I have to say, initially I wasn't too fond of arranged marriages, but now that I'm more immersed in the Indian culture, and I've seen people making the case for it,
Yeah.
genuinely, and I've seen it work very well too. So I'm not judging anymore. I'm like, I think there's a place for it, and I think there's a genuine community part to it. Initially, coming with kind of the Western, obviously, I was like, this doesn't sound right, but I think it's not as wrong as Westerners make it to be.
I think what's happening is that when arranged marriages happen, it comes from two perspectives. One is parents get desperate and they want to see their children get married, and they go out and do it for them, and they don't do the background, and that's when they fail. And I know a lot of people who that's happened to. But if you're a parent like me, who I have to tell you, I have two grown sons and they're ready for marriage, and I'm ready to be a grandmother. And I'm getting desperate now that I'm going to think about arranging their marriages. But I'm going to have to do my homework, because at the end of the day, whoever they married are going to be my daughters. So I better do a good job finding them. I'm not going to just find, oh, she's cute and she has a nice waist and I think my son would like her, or she's into sports and he's into sports. No. You
See,
really have to find out the moral fiber of this individual that you're going to marry
yeah,
off to your
and
kid.
this is why arranged marriage can work. You just said it because
Mm.
you, as a mom, you know your boys like almost no one else. You know the character
Mhm.
traits, you know where they might need support, you know the kind of woman that might be a good fit. And this is uh what might sound extremely weird to Westerners, like, oh, love and I get to choose. And just look at divorce statistics. Okay, I also have to say, yes, in India, people, maybe they don't feel comfortable divorcing as much because of the community pressure that is there. But I think that the West is not necessarily an example of what works, despite all the liberty they have. And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. But I do think that you, as a mother, at least to some degree, have a really good understanding of what might be a good partner, a genuine partner, a mature partner for your boys. And
Mhm.
I think
Yes.
that this is where this has a place in the world, and I'm not judging it.
Yes. No, I fully agree with that wholeheartedly. I think parents can be incredibly instrumental in the success of their children's marriages, because they will know all the secrets of the downfalls of their kid and how the partner can balance those weaknesses and provide strengths for them. Whereas their parent of let's say the daughter, can give us input or understand that, hey, your son has all these strengths. They could help my daughter, you know, this. And, so when parents get together, and, I've sat in the table at a banquet one time, and there was this lady who sat next to me. She said, oh, I have a 27-year-old daughter. She's a scientist and she's just so this and that and this and that. I said, really? I have a 29-year-old son and he's, I'm like, let's do this, she's this, he's this. He would be good for her and she would be good for him. And, we were ready to match him up. And I called my son that night. I said, hey, I may have found someone for you. And he's like, no, mom, it's okay. Thank
This
you.
is
No,
very
thank
funny.
you.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah. Those are the banquets we wait to celebrate the
Yes.
marriages of our children. Yeah.
Well, Jacqueline, looking back at 30 years of culinary, where are you taking this from here? What are you looking to explore next? Which country are you looking to travel to next? What dish are you pursuing right now?
I honestly want to I want to go back to some of the countries that I've been to, but I also want to go to some new ones because honestly, hopefully one day I could write a storybook about my adventures in eating like my dad used to call it. But these are true adventures, you know. I want to partner with people who can tell me the real history and the real technique of food that these recipes that have never been tried before or that are being now seen in our country can be celebrated because you know in America, honestly, the Bay Area especially, we are a melting pot. And I mean that, a melting pot of foods. And it would be great to share those stories and I feel like food is really the common thread that can unite us as a human race as opposed to a particular race because in this suffering world that we're going through right now, people want a place to celebrate. And that's the table. The table is a place my parents used to make sure that we used to have dinner every night at a certain time because that was the place where we reconnected. That's when we
Mm,
found out how our kids were feeling, what was going on in their day. That's how we communicated our love for one another, how we can peacefully identify with one another. And the table is so important. I feel like if I could just contribute a tiny bit of my passion, my stories, my experiences on paper with connecting pictures that will bring these to life at someone's coffee table to inspire them to perhaps make biryani or paella, the rice that connects us all. You know, the arroz con pollo, you know, we all have a rice dish somewhere, fried rice, you know, that we can share together and understand that everybody's the same. We just have different flavors, but we're all the same. It's all rice, you know. That's kind of something I want to do in the future. I want to continue to partner with chefs in other countries and do stuff with them. I want to go and visit their kitchen and you teach me how to make the best roti or the best, you know, shrimp kebab or whatever it is that you do. I want to go
yeah.
on the boat with you and I'll wear like 3 life jackets 'cause I'm afraid of the water, but I will go and catch a shark with you if that's what it takes. Um, I just want to keep having adventures in food,
Yeah.
and then I want to just share those with people who didn't get to hear about it, or didn't know about it, or had no interest, but now they do. You know, I want to be able to do that. If there's a chef out there who wants me to cook with me or let me cook with them, I'm down. I'm ready. You
That
know,
sounds
just tell
exciting.
me that. You know,
And
just
and
let's throw
and
down
actually,
together.
I want chefs that listen to this. I want them to be like, "Hey, Jackie, come to wherever we're gonna cook together." You know, there's
I want to do
there's
that.
there's a kitchen in New York, Staten Island, and they have a fun concept. So the owner basically he loves to eat kind of crammers food, and what he is doing, he's inviting the crammers from all over the place to come to the restaurant. They can choose whether they just do a lunch service or a dinner service one day, 2 day, and they will just cook for the restaurant. And basically at that time they will have like 2, 3 different crammers. Everybody does like 1, 2 different dishes, and then you just go to that restaurant and you can eat grandma's food. I also find that such a fun
I
concept.
want to do that. I was just in New York a couple weeks ago. I need to find
Yeah.
that place. You have to share that information.
Yeah,
I
it's in
I
Staten
reconnected
Island.
with
So
a
you
friend of
take the
mine.
Staten Island ferry. It's actually walking
Okay.
distance from the ferry. Yeah.
I was in New York because I went with one of my clients, an elderly client who hasn't traveled in over 20 years, and she asked me to go with her to see her elderly uncle. And in the meantime, next to my restaurant in North Beach that I told you about, there used to be a little boutique, and there was this lady who owned it. She moved back to Miami to be with her family, but now she's in New York again. So after 18 years, we saw each other, and
Wow.
we were eating out every night and exploring different places and all that. She's like, "Come and crash in my apartment every night." So Staten Island, I'm coming for you.
Well,
I went
Jackie,
to, you know, there's so many neighborhoods in New York for
yeah.
food. I went to like the Persia. My goal was to visit all the boroughs. So I rented a car and went every day to a different borough and ate something different in every. in every
Man,
borough. It
you're
was
really
fun.
hungry to see the whole world. So now
I
you have to
am.
tell people where they can connect with you so that they can invite you to come meet them, cook with them in the world. Where can people connect with you, Chucky?
Well, I'm here on LinkedIn. I'm on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, and I do have some stupidities on Instagram that you can look at. But I say that because I don't take my Instagram very seriously. You know, have those Instagrams that just food after food after food, and it's like,
Yeah.
who is this person? You know, just a fun person who just likes to, post ridiculousness and enjoy my life. You know, I'm not gonna live by rules. You know, this is how your page should look, and your resume is not perfect. I've interviewed for fancy jobs, and I didn't get it because I was too casual. And maybe I need to shape up a little bit. You know, maybe you can give me some tips on that. You know, how to be more serious, take my chefing more seriously. But yeah, I
I
just want to love
I
life.
honestly think there is a place for individuals. You know, there's people who wanted a little bit more time. Like for example, I was in London last month and we did a private chef meetup in London. And as I was in a family's home and it felt pretty stiff. And I was like, I guess there's also chefs who might appreciate that, you know, and then there's chefs who want a different clientele, and then like, you know, there is a flavor for everybody. Like, I don't think you need to learn how to be more stiff in order, because then you will attract somebody who you don't want to attract. Like by showing
Yeah,
colors,
that's
you
a
will
good
attract
point.
your
That's a good
you will
point.
attract your tribe, you know, in that sense. So
Mm-hmm.
and as long as it makes financially sense for you and you feel like you can live the life you want, do that, you know. If you feel like maybe you want to reach a different financial level or a different professional expression, then explore it for the right reasons, but don't just do it because somebody
Mm-hmm.
tells you to look more like this and be like a pinguin, you know.
And
um
I think you're a very good point there because I recently interviewed. I've had like three, four interviews with recruiters, and they told me update your resume, and I've never really fancily updated it because I never was having to look for work. I've always had work come to me. You know, word of mouth always been my advertiser. And so when I think that was daunting when I heard the recruiter say, "Well, your update is a little old fashioned or a little this and that," and the family is looking for this, that, this and that. And I said, "Okay, the family wants to own me, you know." And I think that's the part that scares me. It's because this family, they wanted breakfast, lunch, and dinner 6 days a week, and then they wanted four different parties. They wanted this and that, which is fine. I could do all that, and then they want you to
yeah,
live with them,
I wouldn't
and
sign up for that.
then they want you to live with them, and if
Yeah.
you're married or you have a family, you're giving up your rights basically for just Sunday afternoon.
Well, part of the trade of taking top dollars as a private chef is like some of the highest salaries. Like if we're talking $200,000 and above, they come with the expectation that you're at their disposal. Like
Hmm.
there's a couple of those out there where you know, they might pay because of your culinary skill set and because they love you, but then the vast majority of jobs that are really high paying, they come at the expectation of you to be at their disposal. That's
Yeah,
kind of
and
how it
I'm
works.
willing to do that, to be honest, for a few years that I have left in this world. But I only want to have one thing from that family besides a steady paycheck, but that's besides point. The most important thing for me to work for a family like that is respect. I want them to treat me like a human being, not
Yeah.
like a
I,
machine, not like a servant. I want to be treated with respect. That's all I want. You know, I'd rather take a lesser pay from a family and have all the respect in the world than to take this extreme, I've worked for those kind of people, and it's not interesting to me.
yeah.
I love myself now. I've learned to love myself, and I think chefs need to learn to love themselves and not allow themselves to be abused by those type of clients who just think of them as help. You know, we're not just help. We're there to make their lives possible. That was a saying that I learned from one of my clients early on. When I first came into that home, she said to me, "Your life is to make my life possible." And I went home scratching my head thinking, what does that mean? My existence is so that you could have a quality life. I evaluated that. Evaluate. And I had to flip it, that negative, because it was a negative. She was trying to teach me to be subservient. And I had to flip it and say, you're right. My life is to make your life possible, because without me, you don't have a life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I feel proud that I could make your life possible. You know what I mean?
that's a
So,
good attitude to flip that like
you
that.
know, you have to flip everything in life to positive and love yourself enough to do it.
Yeah. Well, Jackie, that's a good one to end the conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's not the first time we spoke that long. You know, I remember standing in Bombay last time when we were on the phone and we were sharing stories. So thanks, for your time, for sharing all your experience, for creating the app, for creating a space for chefs that coming out of the restaurants to start having their own experience in private homes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a nice journey, and it's going to keep going. I'm going to keep it going for a little bit longer.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, FultonFishMarket.com, the best seafood in the nation, trusted by the best chefs in the world. Aside from offering premium seafood, they also make life easier for you by delivering all these outstanding products right to your doorstep. Visit the official website www.fultonfishmarket.com and explore the incredible selection of seafood and let your clients experience quality that has captivated palates for generations. Use code PRIVATECHEF at checkout to get 15% of your first order. When it comes to seafood, FultonFishMarket.com is the name we trust. Thank you for joining us at the Private Chef podcast. If you know any highly skilled chefs that want to take their life to the next level, make sure to share this podcast with them. And if you enjoyed this episode, click subscribe and check out our upcoming episodes. Thank you for listening.